Welcome to the Austin Biz Buzz, the podcast that builds the buzz about Austin business. So kick up your feet and turn your brain on. It's time to talk Austin business right now. Here's Herdy.
Hey everybody, we want to welcome you to the Austin Biz Buzz. That's the Austin Biz Buzz that builds a buzz about your business. And one of the things we like to do is always cover Austin business. And tonight we got two cool guys on. I'm going to introduce them in 1 second with Travel Punks. But before I do that, I need to thank my sponsor, Mike O'Neill. Mike O'Neill's a money coach. You can find him at mkoneil.com. He's a past client, and I will tell you that when he heard I was relaunching the Herdy Burke Broadcast Network as the Austin Biz Buzz, he jumped right on in to sponsor some of the shows, and I want to thank him. So you guys need to go look up Mike O'Neill, mkoneil.com at the Money Coach LLC. He does a lot of corporate training. He does a lot of public motivational speaking all over the world. So check out mkoneil.com. Hey, we want to thank these guys for coming to the podcast. I've got Paul Greenamyer and I've got Carson Brown. Guys, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Man, this is cool. I talked to Paul about a month and a half ago, and he said, you know, we call ourselves like the Travel Punks. And Paul, what I say? I said, man, that's a cool name.
Yeah, that is exactly what you said.
And so these guys are musicians, been in bands. They started Travel Punks, and they're going to tell us tonight how they help with rewards and travel and all sorts of fun stuff. And I know I'm going to let you guys take the lead tonight, Paul and Carson, and tell some stories. But tell us exactly what you do.
You want to take this one, Paul?
Yeah, I'll take it. Carson and I reconnected after being out of touch because I was posting some questions about frequent flyer miles, which I was getting into, and learning how to travel for free or close to free with an almost unlimited supply of frequent flyer miles. And Carson just started answering my posts because he had been doing it actually longer than I had. And at some point we would see each other at social events, and we realized that we had both been brainstorming putting together a YouTube channel for the very simple reason, since we started traveling with frequent flyer miles and travel rewards and getting all these insane experiences and traveling as frequently as we could for such little money, people would not stop asking us about it. Every time someone discovered what we were doing in terms of our travel itineraries, they were like, how do you do that? And how can I do that? So we were having all of these conversations and trying to get people started on the same hobby as what we were doing, only in a limited way. And it got to the point of being, man, if there was only just a YouTube channel that we had made videos for that we could send to even just our friends, you know, you can look up anything on YouTube, but if it was us giving the advice that people so frequently ask us about, then it would have a little bit of an extra connection. So Carson hadn't realized that I'd actually tried to make a channel like this, but I had kind of failed miserably at it. And then God smiled on me by causing my video recording equipment to disappear in Thailand. So that was the universe's judgment on my first attempt at a YouTube channel. But it's also a lot of work, and it's hard to get together, but it helps to have a partner and someone motivating you. So it made a lot of sense for us to team up, and we had kind of different strengths in the area of travel rewards and a different take on it and different kinds of content to offer. So there was a breadth of knowledge that we were able to offer. And we chose the YouTube format because there are a lot of bloggers, but a lot of the bloggers were kind of limited in their exposure on YouTube. And we expanded into podcasts because we thought that a lot of people who are offering travel rewards advice weren't putting it into context. They were just talking about credit cards and frequent flyer miles and not talking about what you can actually do with them, like what your traveler experiences are like, and you know what happens to you on the road, and interviewing people who have interesting and worldly perspectives. So that's how we started getting into podcasting, and we're expanding now into consulting, where we actually do what people are asking us to do, which is have one-on-one conversations about your travel goals and ways that you can leverage travel rewards available through credit cards and loyalty programs in a way that people don't expect. I mean, a lot of people think you need to fly a lot in order to get frequent flyer miles. It makes sense, but that's actually not the case. We want to buy as few things as possible. Like, the goal is to not change your spending habits, because yeah, you could start overspending and get more frequent flyer miles from credit card spend, but that is a bad financial decision. And we want to be as careful as possible with that, because we want to be giving ethical advice too. We don't want people to get in a position where they're maxing out their credit cards, or if they're not prepared with tools to understand how interest rates work, and makes no sense to get travel rewards credit cards if you're going to carry a high interest balance. It completely erases the value, because the interest will rapidly become more than the rewards return.
And that's the point. We always try to reiterate that point. Whenever we do this stuff, we try to make sure that we disclose as much as we can. Yes, you can do really well with travel rewards, and not even necessarily with a lot of effort, but you have to know your limitations and what you're comfortable with, and that never paying interest is the primary rule. You don't want it to cost you anything additional. It's supposed to be this extra benefit to money that you're already spending.
Gotcha. And so I had heard in that conversation, Paul and Carson, when y'all were kind of talking a little bit about this, I heard you talk about consulting one-to-one. So are you being an education type service? Is that how you see yourself helping these clients get on board?
Yes, to a certain extent. There's an educational aspect of just understanding what rewards and offers are out there. For example, a lot of people don't know that a lot of the major banks offer transferable points. Actually, 4 of the major banks that issue credit cards offer transferable points. So a lot of people like using Southwest miles and think they need a Southwest credit card to get them. What they don't realize is that Chase Ultimate Rewards transfer one-to-one into Southwest miles. They also transfer one-to-one into United miles if you want, and Virgin Atlantic and British Airways and Air France and Singapore and Hyatt points and a couple of others. So that in itself is a big aha moment for a lot of people, that they could be earning Chase Ultimate Rewards using them on Southwest or something else.
Wow.
And a lot of the cards that earn Ultimate Rewards actually earn them faster than the Southwest credit cards. Another big hack I try to give people about Southwest is that they should only get Southwest credit cards if they have a wife or a husband or a companion that they want to do a lot of traveling with, and they should get the card at the beginning of the calendar year. I won't get into it too much, but there's something called the Southwest Companion Pass. And if you earn enough Southwest miles, you get a free extra ticket, like a buy one, get one, just like an extra $100. And it's for every Southwest ticket you get for the remainder of the calendar year, and then the whole next calendar year. So there's just ways you can get such elevated value if you know, but that's only something that I would recommend to someone with a partner, someone with a spouse or a significant other or a partner or a child or someone they want to do a lot of traveling with. And if they don't have someone like that, I would say, hey, wait until you find that person, and then get yourself some Southwest credit cards, because the sign-up bonuses are a huge help in getting to the number of miles you need to get the companion pass without spending a lot of extra money. Always coming back to not spending a lot of extra money and understanding where the sweet spots are in getting crazy value with these cards.
Yeah, and so you guys are probably, I would imagine, in a competitive market, correct, in what you're doing. Do you have a niche within what you're doing, or how you guys pushing yourself out there? You mentioned YouTube. What are you doing to attract your business audience?
Well, it's hard to find just a specifically unique voice when a lot of the content is overlapping. One of the things I've noticed with a lot of the bigger blogs is, for someone that's new to it, it's one of those things where it feels like you're starting in the middle of the conversation. And a lot of people are overwhelmed by the amount of information that is coming at them when they don't understand a lot of the terminology. So we try to offer a variety of content that caters to people that have some experience, and also a lot for people with no experience at all, and make things more easily digestible. And tell anybody that it's not just us, it's anybody can do this stuff. People get overwhelmed really easily, but if the information is presented in a way they understand, they don't feel as intimidated by it.
So I hear you saying, Carson, that if you keep this whole process simple, educating and helping people through the process, that builds a rapport with you guys and what you're trying to accomplish. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, for
yes.
sure.
And
you know,
we're also a little bit irreverent. Some of the bigger people in the space are more family friendly, so we try to be a little bit edgy and a little bit different. Carson,
Gotcha.
go on.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that, you know, we're experienced in this, yes, but we don't know 100% of everything either, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. People kind of get to learn with us as we go. Like Paul's done videos where he's booked an award flight for the first time and gone through the whole process with the video. It's like to be able to see someone else go through the process firsthand for the first time, you see him able to execute it. It makes it feel more attainable for the average person.
Yeah,
I like that.
And that was the first time I'd done that booking before, and it was a multi-step booking, but it's a way to book a really cheap first-class ticket round trip from the United States to Japan. And a lot of people do it, but it takes a lot of doing. But it's on ANA, which has incredible lie flat bed first-class service. They actually just upgraded it, so the redemption will be even better next time I go, because they upgraded their first-class cabins, and they have 7-course meals and dine on demand and unlimited Krug champagne and pajamas and amenities. And I mean, it's just just insane how much better long-haul first class is compared to long-haul economy, which makes travel a lot easier to do a lot of it because you don't spend half the vacation recovering from a traumatic flight.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
Yeah. So that it helps to share my discoveries as I come up with them. The number one thing I hear from people who want to do what we do but don't know how to do it is that what we're describing sounds complicated, hard to execute, hard to keep track of. They don't want to have more than one credit card to begin with. And we can work with one credit card. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. It helps to have at least two that you can bounce back and forth with. I mean, both Carson and I have over 20, 25 credit cards, and our credit has never been better. Mine's pushing towards 800 right now.
Awesome.
So, but people don't understand the steps, and it's a long process, and it's a multi-step process. So I'm telling someone, all right, do this, and then 3 months later, do this. Where we're going to offer a lot of value in the consulting arena is follow-ups, and in some case, automated follow-ups. So we set a schedule, and you'll hear from us by text and by email of like, hey, it's been 90 days since step 1. Now it's time for step 2. You got the Sapphire Preferred. Now you should be done with the bonus spending, and it's time to get the Freedom Unlimited. If all of this sounds complicated, we just try and make it as easy as possible and include links and reminders and strategies for getting the minimum spending done. Things like password managers, which a lot of people don't have, but which help you keep online accounts together. Mm-hmm. Ways to synchronize your due dates so you're not missing payments. It's a multi-step process. And so we try to offer multi-step coaching, because the last thing I want people to do is to overpay for travel, or even worse, never travel, just because they're like, oh, it's too complicated. I can't have that many credit cards. Well, you can. You just need to systematize it. So one of my videos is as simple as suggesting that people print labels or paper tape and put them on their cards to remind them of what the spending categories are. So if your card gets 3 points per dollar at grocery stores, that's an easy thing to forget. And whenever I get a new card, or when I have a bunch of cards in my wallet, I mark them with Scotch tape, or with masking tape rather, written on markers. Or you can use a label maker that says, use this card for this. It's dumb things like that that get complicated steps out of your head and into the real world. I mean, that's the main function of getting your life organized and becoming a more efficient person and closing open loops in your head. You don't have to remember it because you've filled your life with reminders and you've systematized the things that make your life better, like maximizing your spending and getting 3 points per dollar instead of 1.
Guys, just a quick reminder, we're talking to Paul Greenamyer and we're talking to Carson Brown with Travel Punks, and they're talking to us a little bit about how they can help you guys with travel rewards, the credit cards, how they all work, and I think that's awesome. So guys, what is the best way if somebody wants to find you, wants to follow up on this podcast and get engaged with you, where do you direct them?
You can search Travel Punks on YouTube, and we should come up pretty quickly.
You can also follow us at Paul Greenamyer on Instagram and at Credit Carson on Instagram. I recommend Credit Carson because Carson comes up with some pretty hysterical travel frequent flyer miles and points related memes. So it's nice to keep up with Carson's sense of humor around travel rewards. So that's another thing that we offer that some other providers don't. But you can follow our YouTube channel, leave a comment, we'll respond, and follow us on Instagram. And you can also follow our podcast pretty much everywhere you find podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, pretty much everywhere. Just search Travel Punks and you'll find our content.
Yeah, that's cool. And I've done that, and they're there, guys. So, and nobody uses YouTube, so I'm just kidding. So yeah, guys, look up Travel Punks on YouTube. They're awesome, man. You just got that. If I'm wrong, Paul, tell me I'm wrong. Didn't you just go to Tokyo not too long ago?
Yeah, that was the
you booked on the video to show how they do it, and how was it? Was it just fantastic?
The flight was absolutely fantastic. Pretty high up on my Instagram and my Facebook right now. You can look at pictures from the flight. There's also a couple of them on YouTube. I did a little unboxing video of the amenities kit and a video tour of the first class seat. I hope to do that same redemption again soon, or maybe Carson will do it in the upgraded ANA first class because it just looks spectacular. And actually their business class got upgraded too, so it might be worth saving a few points and getting those. But to emphasize, that first class seat is $10,000 a pop, one way. You pay $10,000 easily walking out the door for ANA first class. I redeemed it for a pretty stellar frequent flyer miles rate, only about 93,000 miles, which usually you'd pay 200 to 300,000 miles for that round trip. And I only paid $260 out of pocket. So
Whoa.
$260 for 13 hours in 2 directions with a lie flat seat, so you can turn it into a bed, big screen TV with full selection of entertainment, unlimited champagne, Krug champagne, and other beverages, and full dinner service, including a 7-course Japanese meal. And there's also an international option and some dine-on-demand options. Sake is a pretty spectacular flight.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was going to say you haven't slept on a plane until you've slept in a lie flat seat on a plane.
That seat retails for, because you can earn that many points pretty quickly, but think of how much you would have to save to spend $20,000 of actual money on a plane flight. No one's going to do that, but unless you're very, very wealthy.
Yeah, not only that, what are you going to have to do when you get there if you have to spend it for just the air flight, right? So, I mean, that's the beauty of it. What I'm gathering from this podcast tonight and talking to you guys at Travel Punks is that you guys can really help people understand this process and maximize what they're doing with their money through their credit cards. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's to try to make people aware that their travel dreams are truly not out of reach. You don't have to spend a lot of money to travel really well. And there's not really a wrong way to do it. Some people like to use their miles and use smaller amounts and not necessarily travel in first class. They're happy doing economy flights and using less miles and stretching their miles further. And some people prefer to use them for things that they couldn't afford otherwise, like long haul first class, business class flights. But that's that's really the important thing is that it isn't out of reach, and they can do it. We can do it. You don't have to go broke traveling.
Yeah, and I guess one of the final questions I want to ask you guys is that, do you find, because obviously you've mentioned it's complicated, it's a process, there's things you have to understand, but it's not as hard as you think. What do you find is the biggest problem with most folks? They don't know how to maximize what they're doing. They don't understand it. They don't have a clue how they're supposed to obtain all this and make this happen. Is that kind of what happens?
It's sort of a combination of all of those things. The amount of information, a lot of people don't know where to begin, and it is a step-by-step process. When you start earning points, when you start getting into it, I think people get comfortable with the earning side of it pretty quickly. But when you start getting into redeeming points, searching for award availability, and finding the flights that you want is where it gets a little more difficult. One of the things I have to tell people to try and adjust in their thinking is that when you go from paid travel to award travel, you need to have that flexibility in your plans. You can't just 100% count on getting an award ticket on the date, on the time, to the place that you need. So you have to either plan well in advance and find award availability, or sometimes waiting till the last minute is helpful, because airlines will open up availability on unsold seats at the last minute. It's changing your perspective and changing your thinking, how you think about what you would normally do when you go to book a flight. And some of it's a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, so it makes total sense that I'm hearing you guys are enlightening me. Okay, so that's what I'm sitting here asking questions that I kind of ask as a consumer, right? So I come to you, I'm all confused. I say, hey guys, I want to travel. I think I'm doing this all wrong, and I'm going to ask you guys to help me through this process, right? So you take them on, you take me on as a client, and basically help me through this whole thing, keep me automatically posted, follow up with me. If that is your consulting process, correct?
Correct. And clients would have unlimited access to us through a private Facebook group, so you can ask questions or ask questions of other people who do the same thing. Basically have kind of a go-to resource for personalized questions, because everyone does kind of do this differently.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think you guys are taking away the what I would consider the trying to read all these different sites and blogs and figure out where to start. And I like what Carson said a minute ago, and I think that's true for a lot of things in life, is we're not really sure the willingness to be able to begin. And once we begin, what do we do? Where do we start? I would think that would be the hardest thing for folks to understand. I'm thinking in terms of myself, right? That's what I would be confused about, is, okay, I'm getting all this, what do I do with it? How do I make this work?
A lot of what it comes down to is people being like, just tell me what to do. I need to go to bed and get up for work tomorrow. What can I do right now? Make it simple. Okay. What's this step? And that's easy enough to do. But if, for example, I was like, all right, you need to get the Sapphire Preferred, and then 3 months later, you need to get the Freedom Unlimited. Then I don't see the person for another 6 months. I'm like, hey, how's that Sapphire Preferred working out? Oh, I love it. Did you get the Freedom Unlimited? No. Step 2 fell by the wayside because there wasn't a system of follow-up.
Right.
And they're really selling themselves short if they don't. They're definitely light years ahead of where they were before, but they're selling themselves short if they don't get a little bit deeper. I mean, this is such a deep rabbit hole. It really feels like the gravy train is never going to end. I earn miles faster than I spend them. And I know that's true of Carson.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the dumbest problem that I have right now, is I have more miles than I can feasibly use in the near future.
and why is that a problem?
Well, okay, so I'm actually really glad that you asked that question.
It's good problems to have.
Because as much as it's a great thing to have lots of points and miles are not, they're not an investment. Loyalty programs, they tend to devalue over time and not the other way around.
Gotcha.
So your flights might, 6 months from now, a flight that you were interested in might cost 10 or 20,000 more points than it did at the time you were initially interested.
Gotcha.
A hotel that you want to book could move up a category and cost more points. Right.
More
Absolutely.
points,
I mean,
right.
yes. Right. Keep earning points and miles. Yes. But hoarding points and miles long term and planning too far out into the future can cost you, because of just how the landscape of the system it is constantly changing.
Carson, tell them about your United Polaris thing when you went to the event.
Yeah, so
because I didn't even know you were doing that until like the day before you went.
I didn't know I was doing that until about the day before I went. There are some interesting and unique redemptions that aren't strictly related to flights and hotels. I got to do this really cool thing over the summer last year, and I used a program that not a lot of people know about, and it's called United Mileage Plus Exclusives. And what it is, it's experiences that you can buy outright with points or bid on with points, and the currency required is just United Mileage Plus miles. So I saw something that I thought was really interesting. United had put on this contest called Her Art Here, and they held this contest for female artists to compete to paint the livery for a couple of Boeing planes. And they were announcing some of the winners, and they were holding this event to celebrate them at the United Polaris Lounge at the San Francisco airport. So it was only 5,000 United miles to do this. That is not a lot of miles to be able to go to a world-class airport lounge, and you're in this huge luxurious space that's, you can't even tell that you're in the chaos of the airport anymore.
Wow.
And I was able to meet with not only several of the artists and winners and the artist that was set to be their mentor, but also a bunch of people from United too, and people that headed up their loyalty program. And it was kind of surreal to be able to chat with people that are that high up into conceptualizing what the loyalty program actually is, and having the chance to talk with them about United Mileage Plus and their events and what they're putting on and what their goal for the program is. It was a really cool redemption, and it was something that without points and miles, I wouldn't have even ever had a chance to do this.
Carson, please brag about the flight you took.
Which one?
Last minute, how did you fly? I believe it was Alaska Airlines first class.
Yeah. I mean, it's just domestic first class. It's not as luxurious as ANA all the way to Japan. But
no big deal.
Yeah,
just domestic first class. That's kind of what we're selling. Like, what did you
say
this weekend?
Say it like that.
You guys are helping travelers learn how to travel and use their points and rewards effectively. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
And that's what we're here for.
That's awesome. All right, guys, we're about to wind down. I want to thank Paul Greenamyer, and I want to thank Carson Brown with Travel Punks for being on the Austin Biz Buzz, where we do a bit of the buzz about Austin business. And guys, I had fun tonight. I hope you did too.
Oh yeah, this was
we sure did, Herdy. Thank you so much.